You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear. All right, another episode of STAGR Cast. We are back in New Hampshire again, and by popular demand, we have Brad Willey on. A lot of guys have been asking for you to come on, so we appreciate you doing this with us.
Thanks for coming over, guys.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad of a drive, so we're down here now looking forward to talking some deer hunting, talking some White Mountain tracking, and going from there. But to begin, what we do with everybody, why don't you give us a little intro on yourself, what you do, kind of how you get into hunting, the territories you roam, and all that type of stuff.
So, I am 42, going to be 43. I'm born and raised in the White Mountains. Went to college for a stint, and had to mature a little bit, so I went in the military. Was a paratrooper. Went to ranger school. Did all that stuff. Just funny because my son's, he's at Fort Bragg, same base as myself, and actually the same base as my father. So
you get 3 generations of military then?
Yeah, actually 4th because before my father even. So and all at Fort Bragg. So so we got a lot of paratroopers in the family.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Uncles, everything. So, but so in the military, got out, got into policing. I've been a police officer for, going on 19 years. So, yeah.
Been doing it for a while then.
Yeah. Hopefully, next few years, see how it goes. Maybe retire, get a little more time to hunt.
Yep. So how's that go with hunting? You get some time off during the...
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything, initially you don't get any time and you got to work your way up the chain. And probably the past 5 years I've gotten quite a bit of time. I mean, it's no lie, I spend a lot of time in the woods.
Yeah.
So, as much as I can. So.
Yep. So from there, so you moved back to New Hampshire, been here your whole life pretty much after the military.
Yep.
And then, so how'd you get into hunting? Is your dad same thing? You get you into hunting?
Yeah, so my father's hunted forever. He was taught to hunt by an old guide way back in the day, Cliff Gagnon, and he learned the ways very young, and it was old school way of learning. So it was either you either do it, you either love it or you hate it.
Yep.
And he ended up through a little tough love through Cliff, he ended up loving it. So he was taught the ways, and he passed it on to me. He got into trapping and all that, and he was just in the outdoors all the time. So I got on his coattails around probably 8 or 9, and without a gun, and I just kind of loved going with him, seeing what we could get into, and that's how I learned.
Yep.
A lot of don't step on sticks, don't do this and that, and something it can steer kids away sometimes, but I loved it, a little tough love, and I think I do the same thing to Alden and Owen. But we have fun, I mean, if like, hey, Snappy, get off the sticks, but we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's got to be tough love hunting this country, It ain't easy. You can't. It's not for the faint of heart, as you know.
Well, that's the thing, you get a little noisy in the woods here, you could miss your one opportunity.
Yeah. They don't come easy.
Seems like a common thread of deer hunters in the Northeast getting yelled at by dads to don't snap the sticks.
Yeah. They still make it fun, but that's you got to. How else are you going to learn? You know what I mean? You got to learn to be at times when it's time to be spooky in the woods. And there's times to pick up the pace, but there's times to have that death creep. So,
Yep. So you said your dad obviously got you in hunting. Was he a tracker as well, or is that something you kind of branched off and went on?
No, so I learned to track from my father.
Okay, so he was tracking too.
That's our preferred method, but when we can't, we still hunt.
Yep.
We just can't sit. There's nothing wrong against tree standers and so forth. I give them all the credit in the world. I don't have the patience to sit in a stand for ever 8 hours, 9 hours a day. So I got to be moving.
Yeah, I hear you. Same way a lot of guys that listen to this. I just can't get into the sitting. It's hard. Like I can sit if I've got if I were to get a deer and I'm taking somebody else out, I can sit, I can do that. Yep. But it's like it's hard to sit. I mean, in the big woods, it's tough to sit. You might sit there all season and never see a deer.
Yeah.
I always wonder what's over the next ridge.
Exactly.
That's key right there. I'm always moving because you're exactly right. I'm like, man, especially if it's a new area and you want to investigate, and you're like, man, maybe it's sweet on the other side, you know? And then you go to that side and it's like, it's not really what I panned it out to be, but maybe the next ridge, and you just keep moving and moving and expanding your ground. So
Yep. So you own and operate White Mountain Buck Trackers, right?
Yep.
So you got the YouTube channel, you do the merch and stuff like that.
Yep.
So what was the whole idea behind starting that, and like where are you going with it? What's the plans with it, and so on from there?
So geez, how it started was I just wanted to video my hunts, you know. I saw it out there. It wasn't really to do anything with, you know, and nowadays nobody really takes pictures and prints them anymore, you know what I mean? And I just thought it would be cool if, you know, I could capture those hunts with my father and they'd be there forever, because we're not around forever.
Oh yeah.
But man, anything you put on the computer is, right?
Yeah.
So love it, good or bad.
Yeah.
I know. So that's how it really started. And then we made some hats and some patches for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then people started reaching out on our Instagram. The Instagram started blowing up. And they're like, hey, where can I get a patch? Hey, where can I get this? And it just kept coming. And at first I was just like, no, it's just for us, you know, this and that. I'm like, I'm getting quite a few requests here.
Yeah.
So, and then people are just liking what we're doing, you know, putting, you know, pretty cool photos out there, some videos. And then it started transitioning into, you know, just how I hunt, you know, and giving a little bit of food for thought here and there. And, it just kind of took off.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I just like I was telling you, I saw some stickers on some trucks here recently, and I mean, when did you start videoing? You said it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I want to say the 2020 buck that's on YouTube right now. I think I called him Chocolate 8. That was the very first one.
Yep.
I mean, it's rough.
Yeah,
it's your first YouTube one. Your first video there. It was a little rough, but it was fun, you know, and got a lot of good comments on that, good reviews, and it just took off from there, you know?
Yeah, you've like blown up quite a bit in the last couple of years, and
yeah,
I mean, you put 3 videos out last year. You got 3 bucks in all 3 states, and then this year you got a New Hampshire buck, and the demand for Northeast based content is so. I mean, more and more people are getting into it, and you can't make enough content right now. Everybody's loving it.
Yeah, and that's what's cool. I mean, I enjoy everybody else's content too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, Northwoods Whitetails, Tracking 200, you know, Big Woods Bucks, whoever. You know, I'm just taking it all in and, you know, and enjoying it and seeing other, you know, because just like we're doing right now, how easy is it to talk about hunting?
Oh yeah, we could do it
we
all
talk
day.
about it all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Till our wives kick us out. You know? So, you know, it's so enjoyable. It helps us get through the year too. This dead period right now, and then in the summertime, and you know, I just love it. I'm thinking about deer hunting every day of the week, every day.
Yep.
You know, so that's why like I can go back, watch your videos, my videos, somebody else's videos, and there's just a lot of content out there.
It's cool to see how other people do it too, because not everyone does everything the same. You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's always something to learn from everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their
style.
Yeah. Everyone's got a style.
You know, I was talking with I think Jeff a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about that type of stuff and talking about like his video, his angle of his camera. You know, and that's his little, like he's known for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were talking about like my point of view is more so, you know, I use mine right on top of the head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everybody's got their own little style. Some people have a cameraman with them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm a little wishy-washy and have a cameraman with me. You know what I mean? There's multiple reasons to that. You know? So maybe someday.
Yep.
But
yeah, so you just running a GoPro on your head for the most part? Yep.
Yeah, I use a GoPro 10, I think.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Yeah, those are good cameras. But you got some good footage. So like, why don't we'll transition? Why don't we dive into? Let's start with last year's, because you completed the trifecta, which not a lot of guys can say they did, which is Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
Yep.
So how did that season kick off? Was it your New Hampshire buck you got first, or was it the Maine buck?
So I have this thing where I can't go to another state until my home state is done.
I feel you on that.
Right?
I feel you.
It's just a pride thing.
Yep.
Makes no sense.
Yep.
But, why change something that's working, right?
It's a little easier to stay in New Hampshire than leave Vermont.
You're right. I hear you. I see a lot of you guys over here.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's cool. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. But, so last year was sort of like 2021?
2021, yep.
Yeah. So it was New Hampshire first. Weather, just like this year.
Oh, yeah.
Was not good.
Yeah.
And so we're just cruising around. It was wicked crunchy. I mean, cornflakes. And I did some grunting. That's a big thing with me. It sounded like a deer. Yep. So when it's crunchy, don't sound like a human. Take 7 to 10 steps, grunt, keep going. It's do or die, Mm-hmm. And I heard, just sat down for a little bit, and here they come. I can hear crunching, and I hear grunt. And in that video, if you crank it up really good before I shoot, you can hear that grunt in the background.
Okay.
And it was 2 bucks running after a doe. She comes through, and I had to thread the needle a little bit with my 35 Whalen, though if that needle's really small, that 35 Whalen's going to go right through it.
Yeah, it's a brush cutter right there. Yeah.
So, you'll get, as I always say, you cut firewood and venison at the same time.
Yeah.
So, went down, and then we moved on to Maine, and Maine was real nice, but again,
Crunchy ground.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. If I remember right, the leaves were at least wet that day.
Okay.
So I was able to sneak up until it got later in the afternoon. Then it dries up. Mm-hmm. And I'd never been in that area before, and I just figured. Remember, we had good feed last year.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. This year was not so good. And so the ridges were the place to be last year. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have snow. So we didn't have snow. I had to think outside the box. And for me, anyway, I'm not usually just heading up to ridges and hoping for the best. I'm usually trying to cut a track,
Yep.
Or hang around bogs. I love bogs, but we'll get into that. So I go up. I see some good sign. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's pretty good in here. And then it got right around noon, that kind of time. You're like, maybe do I want to go check out that other spot I wanted to scout out? Or do I hang out here? Mm-hmm. So I decided to be like, I'm going to chill right here for a little bit. And then probably within, 45 minutes, hour, something like that, here he comes off to my right. And first shot was a little rough because he got me unexpectedly. And I was telling you guys before, I was on my elbow. But the great thing was that red dot is you put that red dot somewhere, you don't have to have that perfect cheek weld. And you can start, ripping shots off with that thing. So got him down. That was not the cleanest. He only shot his left side, I think, off, if I remember right. Yeah, so I rung his bell pretty good, too.
Gotta shoot.
Yep.
Gotta shoot.
And
shoot till you can't see him.
On that buck, were you up on a ledge or something? He was kind of coming below you, right,
Yep.
in the video?
Yep. I was up on a little ledge. It was a super narrow ridge, and there's some oak up there.
Yeah. And
I'm not used to hunting oak. There's not too much oak in the New Hampshire White Mountains.
Yeah.
So, at least where I am. And so I'm like, man, it's nice up here. Again, that year, there's great feed. And you had beech. You had a mixture of the beech and oak. So it was like smorgasbord for them, Yeah. And saw some scrapes, saw some rubs. And that's when I just sat down in that little ledge area. So,
yeah. That was cool footage. He come right by you. So he was just working his way down, or you were calling, or he was just...
I did do a couple of grunts. Yep. I can't tell you that he was coming to the grunt for sure.
Yep.
But it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
And he must have... That right side, it drops off.
Yeah.
So he was either coming right behind me on where I just came through on that very narrow ridge, or he was coming up that steep embankment and just happened to come across, so...
Yep, right place, right time.
Yep.
Yep.
And again, there were some good scrapes there, some fresh scrapes. So maybe he was coming to check them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Oak Ridge in Maine. That's a rarity up there. Yeah,
it's a golden.
Yeah, it was like walking on marbles.
Oh, okay.
There's so many acorns. So many acorns, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, there was so much feed last year compared to this year. Did you see, like, for you, was most of the deer you saw this year low for the most part, or were you kind of see a mix?
So yes, you're exactly right. Where I was seeing them more by the bogs.
Yep.
Edges of the bogs. Those escape routes.
Yep.
And that's about it. Nothing high.
Those edges and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or softwood and hardwood mix.
Yeah. I went up to that same ridge where I shot that buck where I clipped his antler off there, and it was dead.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Yeah. Just open hardwoods, nothingness. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you get that deer, you went to Vermont, that's a great buck. That was a tracking buck, right?
Yep.
Yep. I want to hit us with that story because I've been waiting. I saw your video and stuff, but for those that haven't seen your video,
so that one I came up. We had some good snow. I explained in the video. I'm looking back at this saddle, and if I don't cut a track, I'm just going to head to that saddle anyway. Routes where they're going to travel through and so forth. And so I head up that way. And working my way up, and I finally cut a track, and it's a good track. So I'm coming through, and I laid off of him because he started heading in this thick cut, right? And he kind of looped off to the right. So as I'm on the track, I kind of just take a moment, I thought I was pressing a little too much maybe. So I'm doing some grunting and doing some estrus bleats.
Yep. So
what happened was that buck, found out later he'd come through the cut, circled. Don't know if he heard my grunt or my bleat, but he circled and he came off to my left shoulder. And I just see it. I see that curl, good curl, and I'm like, yeah, he's going. And one shot the ribs of that Woodman Arms and poked him.
Yep.
45 cal.
Was that your first time hunting Vermont, or you've been hunting Vermont for a while?
No, that was probably maybe a handful of times. At that point, actually, maybe a week altogether.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you made the most of it.
Yeah. So I was still learning the area.
Pretty good odds.
Vermont's a different animal.
It is.
It's a tough state to hunt.
I was going to pick your brain on that. Like, going from New Hampshire to Vermont, what's your comparison? What are the biggest differences, and like what do you think is more difficult about each state, and what do you think about them? I'm just curious.
I think it's the swaths of land.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
The public land, I think anyway. Again, I haven't been in Vermont forever, but the White Mountains is 750,000 acres.
Yeah.
From New Hampshire to Maine. I can't give you the stats on Vermont, but it seems a lot less.
Yeah.
Or at least they're so like they're
more isolated.
Yeah, they're isolated. You know what I mean? And it could be tough getting there because of private land. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's kind of landlocked, if you will.
Yep.
So it's a little tougher to scout, but I'll put more time into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think next year's focus is going to be really hammering down in New Hampshire and trying to get a bigger buck.
Yep.
Getting that better quality.
Yep.
And then I'll move on to Maine because I've had better luck in Maine. I had a really close call with a nice buck in Maine this year.
Really?
And just because of the weather conditions, I just could not get near him.
Yeah.
What's it early on, bare ground?
Oh, yeah. I think I maybe had 2 days of snow over there.
Yeah.
2 good days of snow. Mm-hmm. So it's like...
What's the story on that buck? Did you chase him around for like multiple days? Or
I called this place the Triangle.
The Triangle?
Because I'd go... Triangle? Right. It seemed like it because he'd disappear.
Yeah.
So I went in, I went on the opposite side of this bog, nothing going on there. Then I'd go on this other side, and I'd run into bucks. They'd be bucks and does. So come in and does be blowing at me, and I'm like, all right, we're in the sign. You know what I mean? And then had some beautiful signpost rubs. And then I'd be jumping, I didn't see it was a buck, but all signs indicated good buck. not sitting there just blowing its head off.
Yeah.
One blow, gone like a ghost.
Yep.
So my closest call would be, I came up and I'm on the edge of this old cut. I mean, you couldn't see through there, the pecker poles, if you will, we call them, or the whips.
Yeah.
So you can't see in there. I mean, it was a great day though. If you're not going to have snow, it was soaking wet. Mm-hmm. You could walk like a ninja in there. So I'm walking on the edge and I'm just being really quiet. I'm not even grunting now, because I've been in this area a lot now. I know this is his little lair. So I'm going in, and all of a sudden I hear, big blow and take off. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, when I do the death creep, I am doing the death creep. Yeah, and I'm still hunting, but I really slowed it down just because it's been so many days that I've been hitting them there. Mm-hmm. And there's so many does, I'm like, I'm just going to go real quiet in here. So I'm like, well, you know what I'm going to do? He's going to take off. Hopefully he goes to the right because I'm on this to my left, 20 yards over, it just goes up. So I'm like, I'm actually going to go up that, keep the wind in my favor, and come around. And I waited my 20 minutes, 30 minutes, let him calm down. So I look at my watch, it's 30 minutes. I take 5 to 10 steps as I'm heading up the hill. Oh. And I'm like, we had the same plan.
Got me again.
Yeah, we had the same plan.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm just thinking, in my experience, I'm like, this is absolutely a smart buck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I did catch his track in there a couple times when we did have that snow, and it's a nice one.
Yep.
I mean, when it was rifle season, I had him with, 35 Whalen shell out there, and he's getting all of it.
Yep.
Both sideways and length.
Yep.
So I was like, this
big
guy's
box
a keeper.
foot. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, shredding trees.
He was the king in there.
Yep.
Yep. Big dog.
Yep. So I just never got a poke at him.
And you said you only had 2 days tracking in there, or?
I would say 2 days.
Good conditions.
Yeah, 2 days of good tracking snow.
Yep.
When they're, after that, when there's snow, I mean, you might as well put crunchy leaves down.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The only good, obviously, as we know, the only good thing with the crunchy snow is that white against the brown. Mm-hmm. You can see them better.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd rather those conditions, I'd rather have wet leaves.
Yeah, I agree that
what I mean?
Walking on glass is it's tough.
At least if you get rain with leaves, you're gonna be quiet.
Yep.
Yeah. That snow that you're punching through too, that wears you out a lot faster than it does hunting on bare ground.
Mentally and physically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's deep. It's like, oh my Lord.
Yep.
I got a Maine buck. Was it year before? I'm trying to think. I think so. And I shot him once. I wounded him with my rifle. And then I made sure, it wasn't anything fatal, and I got him, must have been in the left hoof, or left leg anyway.
Yep.
So I stayed after him for the rest of the day, and he went back to chasing does. You know what I mean? It was very superficial.
Didn't even faze him.
No, and it was a good buck. And that was like November 15th, 16th, something like that. And, you just feel terrible when you wound one anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then sometimes what happens, we end up spending a little too much time on him after, and you got to let it go. If he's chasing does again, he's fine. Mm-hmm. So I went back in there, like during muzzleloader season in Maine, and that's that crunchy snow. Went in there, I mean, bone cold, so cold, it was ridiculous. And I'm just sitting there doing a little bit of grunting, and I hear just that. I'm looking around. I'm like, I think it was right next to me.
Yeah.
I could hear that deer coming in probably about 125, 50 yards away. And I'm like, holy moly. And it was like open oak, open hardwood. He's coming in. And then I'm like, man, that's definitely a deer. And I'm just looking for horns. I'm like, yep, those are horns. So he comes in. I take a poke at him with peep sight. And I was pushing it with a peep sight. I was pushing it. So I got him down, Went up to him, I checked him out, and I'm thinking, it might be that deer that I wounded before. And I'm like, no, doesn't look like. I mean, I'm checking them all over. But at the same time, it was so cold. Man, I couldn't wait to open him up and get my hands in his cavity. I mean, it was that cold.
Bitter cold, yeah.
You see, when I have my toque on my head, my little hat, my snow hat, I am freezing. Yeah. Because I wear a ball cap everywhere.
Yep.
And it was just bone-chilling cold. And we got him out, and my father and I ended up dressing him off and butchering him. And no kidding, there it had that wound. It healed over, but you could see all that trauma on that leg. And we couldn't believe it. We're just like, man, that is crazy. Yeah. They're such a tough animal.
What are the chances?
Yeah.
How far away was that from where?
I think it was like mile and a half, 2 miles, something like that. Yeah. And he just
cruising.
Yep.
Healed right up though. Did you just graze it, or did you go like through it? You know?
I think I must have just grazed it.
Yep.
Because you literally could not see any wound on the outside.
Really?
I mean, it was
he healed right up.
Crazy. Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
They're tough animals. It's incredible. Some of them they go wounded even worse than that, like real bad ones. They just keep going. Like you see some crazy trail cam pictures of bucks that get shot and then get found. But that's the beauty of snow. You know, you hit one up here on snow, you're typically going to get it. But that bare ground stuff's definitely a different animal.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was weird. It was crazy.
Yeah.
That was a good year.
Was that was the one on the wall in your trophy room? On the plaque, right?
Yep. I'm guessing he would have been, well into 200.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 170 on December 13th.
Right at the end.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
20 to 25% loss, but
yeah,
it was a fun hunt. I mean, he was obviously rutted right off, but it was a really fun hunt. And I wasn't going to get up that morning because it was so cold. It was towards the end of the season, and I had a good year already that year. And I'm just like, you know what the heck?
Yeah.
And as soon as I got in my truck, I'm like, man, I don't know. I'll give it an hour or two. And it paid off. So it just goes to show you can't get them on the couch.
It's true.
You don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your line right there for white, and never give up, right?
Yeah.
Never quit.
Yeah, never quit.
That's it.
You can't, you just never know what's going to happen in the woods. I could be hunting one area and I don't even know you're there, and you bump a deer in my way, and there you go.
A lot of stuff goes down when you least expect it, especially on the bare ground days or the crunchy days. Stuff just happens. Like you said, you got to be out there and doing it.
Yeah.
Persistence kills more bucks than anything in this game that we.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Right there, persistence. That is key. You get up in the morning, get your butt out of bed, and get after it.
Yep.
Just get after it. Remember, at the end of the day, it's better than working, right?
Oh, absolutely.
10 times out of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get out there, get after it, and make some memories, and enjoy the company you have. Like I hunt a lot with my father and my boys. Well, Owen's in the service right now, but when he gets out, I'll be back with him. But with Alden, and just enjoy all that.
Yep.
It's great getting a big buck, but at the end of the day, enjoy the time that you have with the people you enjoy hunting with, because that's it right there.
Yep. And you only get a month a year to really do it.
That's right.
Make the most of it.
That's right. I mean, you can shoot big bucks all day, but if you got nobody to share those memories with, it's kind of, it's nice, but it's kind of like,
it's all about sharing that experience. Yeah. No, I'm way more fired up when I'm, hunting with a buddy and getting a buck versus, by myself. It's just a different.
Yeah. Way more into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could get one. You're like, oh my God, this is awesome. You just wait for that call,
Mm-hmm. I usually get a call when I hunt with Adam. So.
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah, that's good.
That's cool. Yeah.
So were you guys hunting together? The buck you got this year in New Hampshire, you guys were together, right? Or not like together, but hunting,
So we didn't think we were as close as we were.
Really? So hit us with that story.
We thought we were about probably a mile, and he knows how I am. So I usually, like we were talking about, well, what's over that next ridge?
Yep.
So he knows I might, head up a little bit further. In fact, he was concerned because we were starting to see a lot of bears.
Really?
He's like, hey, don't be pulling the trigger on a bear because I can't help you.
Yeah.
And you're on your own. And, so Anyway, so he was working low and I was working high, and I was heading towards this ridge, and I was just keeping the wind in my favor because, again, you know, it was a nice day, but a nice day to us in the woods is not good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, bright sun, a little warm, you know.
Beach weather.
Yeah, exactly. You know, crunchy as can be. So I'm heading over, and I was swinging over and basically paralleling this ridge. And I wasn't going to get up on the ridge because, again, there's no feed, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just cruising. So I get to this little spot. I take a seat in this log. The sun's hitting me, you know. And it was just a beautiful day, if you will. And it was windy. I do remember that. That was the one good thing, is the wind. I like windy days. Mm-hmm. I love them. You know, hides your movement well because everything else is moving, you know. Scents, you know, swirling, especially in the mountains. It's swirling. Yeah. So take a seat. I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and here comes this buck. Now, I'm sitting down. I have my muzzleloader to my right, not in my hand, foolishly. So, and I'm just chilling, and then he comes up, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, camera, this would be great for a good video. I got my gun here. I'm like, oh man, here we go. What are we gonna do? So I grab my gun, and as soon as I grab it, he just kind of stops. He looks at me. Now he's turning towards me, and he's gonna start walking towards me. And I'm like, oh man, come on. So then I'm like, can I get to my camera quick? And I'm like, no, this is a loss. So I grab my muzzleloader, bring it up. And as soon as I brought it up quickly that time, and he kind of just stops, and then he just slowly turns, like, hey, man, I'm just going to cruise out of here, don't mind me, and get away, you know? And then when he turned, I hit him broadside. So anyway, I hit him, and I'm thinking my father's, you know, maybe a mile or two away. He goes, I know. I heard your shot. I'm only like 200 yards away. I'm like, holy moly. That's awesome. It ended up being such a great day. You know, yeah. I mean, it wasn't that huge buck that we're always after, but it was the moment. Mm-hmm. You know, again, like we were talking about, the memories, you know. I knew my dad was in the area. I didn't think he was that close, but I knew if I got one, he would be part of the process.
Yep.
You know, and we really enjoy each other's company in the woods, you know. And so, I mean, no kidding. He was there within, 20 minutes maybe, you know. And so we come up, we enjoy it, we have our victory beer, and it was a little bit of a drag, but it was a good day.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a good day.
That's awesome. You guys are never gonna forget that
no.
there. And then
no.
Yeah,
good pictures, good everything, you know. And
the victory beers always taste better when you got something to drink.
That's right. That's right.
Was that a Bud Heavy victory beer, or was that a Busch Light victory beer?
That was a Bud Heavy. Should have had a Busch Light, I guess. It was a lighter beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a Bud Heavy.
You always got to be prepared.
That's right. That's right. And the trick to the victory beer is once it's with you, you don't touch it.
Don't even look at it.
It's bad luck. Yeah, you can't. It gets hot. It gets cold. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. It is what it is. Because let me tell you, all right, from experience, it tastes so good at the end.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. And if you get to have a couple of those victory beers, throughout the year, that's awesome. So,
yeah. And those victory beers are part of the experience. They're going up and down the mountains with you. They're all part of it.
You know what? It's funny you say that, but that's the way I look at it. Yeah. I'm like, this thing has got some miles on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's put more miles in the woods than some people.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. King of beers, king of deers. So.
Would you say Bud Heavy gets you the heavy deers?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Heavy beer, heavy deer.
Bud Heavies.
Yeah.
That's funny. So that was a bare ground buck, and we were talking before about your attack on bare ground. You like hunting bogs and stuff, and so like kind of on bare ground days, what do you go about attacking? You like the swamps. I know some guys like the cuts. What do you look for specifically, or what's your ideal situation?
I like swamps.
Yep.
That, like you're looking outside right now, heavy softwood, thick, some places where rabbits won't go. I like that stuff.
Yep.
It plays more to my style. When I'm not tracking, I'm really sneaky through the woods. It works for me. I actually picked up a little bit on that when you're reading the Benoits and so forth, and their different styles where Lane was really aggressive, right? Mm-hmm. And And Lanny, he would just go to push him and then shoot him, right? Mm-hmm. And then Shane was more that sneaky guy, you know. And when I was reading about him, like, man, that plays a little bit more into my style, you know. And then I read a lot about, R.G. Bernier, about the way deer move and so forth, and how he moves, taking those 7 to 10 steps, you know, just not sounding like human steps. So I take that, I put that to my plan, and then I just really sneak through, and I keep my arms really close with my gun. I don't do a lot of, grabbing branches, this and that. I just keep a really low profile.
Just sneaking.
Yep, sneaking and peeking. And using all your senses, We've all smelled that buck before,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And in that environment, like that one buck I was telling you about in the room there, I could smell him, And when you can smell him, you are close, You are really close. And that's a testament to the way you hunt. If you're able to get that close, you're doing well. But don't screw it up. Don't get impatient. So that's what I do. Just sneak through those bogs, right on the edges, And then I do like to, find a ridge once in a while, go up there. But and I hunt around the cuts, You got to use everything.
Mm-hmm.
You got to use everything. Mm-hmm. But I've always had good luck in the bogs and on those edges because it just suits me.
Yep.
And maybe I'm missing other deer out there, but for me, I know how I hunt, and that's what I prefer.
Yep. Yeah.
Seems like in those years like this where the food's not as plentiful, those bogs and swamps and whatnot can be good or better in those years too, when for browse and whatnot. Those
you're right.
Hang around.
What do you have there? You have old man's beard, right? A lot of mushrooms.
Yep.
Right. So there's a different type of feed. You got fern, right? So, and it's just a good hideout for them, right? Especially when it's warm weather, right? They can cool down in that moss, right? And when I find that moss carpet, I'm like in dreamland. Yeah. It's you're like a ninja in there.
Quiet.
So quiet.
Yeah. But just remember, right, that it's quiet for you, but it's really quiet for them too. Yeah. And they love bedding down that and staying cool, and they're just looking.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're creeping, going slow like you are, you get a good chance of catching them. Flicking in the air, doing whatever.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, that moss carpet. I got a spot I hunt up in Maine that's like that, and you can just creep for like a mile. Just do that on the dry days. It's awesome. You feel like you're in the ball game when you're hunting in those areas. You're like, something's gonna happen at any moment.
You immediately get this like intensity going on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now you feel you're on the same playing field, level of play, and you're like, all right, bud. Now it's time. You can't hear me crunching along anymore. Now we're in a keel.
Those windy days too, like you use everything you can to gain 1% advantage.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Your noise is covered, And I do that a lot too. If it's really windy and it's different than if it's just windy a little bit. I'll move when the wind really picks up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When we get those big gusts, that's when I start moving again. Then I slow down when it dies. You know what I mean? You can do that game. It'll take you forever. It's not very windy, right?
Yep.
But any little trick that you can use, take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And it may sound silly at first, but it's common sense.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, if it's loud out, they're not going to be able to hear my steps.
Exactly.
Yep. Or if everything else is moving or the wind's going, you might see me less.
Yep. Yep. So you kind of got that like mobile tree stand going, creeping.
Yeah, you're right.
Creeping, going slow. Yeah.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
Yep. So when it comes to hunting those areas, are you with scouting and stuff? Are you finding the areas before, and then when it comes to those hot days, are you're creeping through there? Do you know where you're going? As far as do you have an idea beforehand of where you're going in, scouting wise? Do you do a lot of scouting?
So I do a lot of my scouting during muzzleloader season.
Okay. Yep.
And I log that information for the following years.
Yep.
Right. So what I call hit my spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit my spots, on those the days we can't track.
Mm-hmm.
And then I log that information up. They're feeding here, or they're bedding here, or this and that. So Yeah, I just call it hitting my spots. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just go to another spot. I don't spend a lot of time in one area, and I just move on. Mm-hmm. You know? I mean, obviously, if the sign's really good, I'll hammer that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But, I mean, let's face it, you know, public land deer, especially in the White Mountains, they have a huge circle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got maybe 2 days to hit that if they're in there, and then they're gone. Mm-hmm. You know? And who knows when they'll be back again. Mm-hmm. So, but,
yeah. So, we're kind of talking, so, like, on those bare ground days, are you doing a lot of calling as well? Like, when you're creeping through those areas, or you're just trying to stay quiet? Is it more calling when it's crunchy, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of live and die by the grunt.
Okay.
And when it's crunchy, I'm grunting. Now, when it's windy, it's tough. Because if it's really windy, they're not going to hear your grunt, right? Yeah. It's, you know, they have really good ears, but, man, I've grunted them like, man, they got to be right on top of me to hear this, you know. Now, I will do it on really quiet days, too, but I'll do it less.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I'll be less aggressive with it. And I'll just, you know, do kind of like a tending grunt, just nice and light and soft, like I'm after a doe.
Yep.
You know, but I'm not sitting there just burp, burp, burp. Whereas when it's really crunchy, I'm grunting a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, so
doing everything you can to not sound like human.
Yeah.
Sound like another deer coming through.
Yeah. Which actually, it's funny, a little off topic, but this year was the first time I heard a buck growl.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to get it on one of my videos, and I thought I had it. I was so pumped that I got it on video, you know? And it's in the intro of this deer video this year. And at the very end, or during it, you can hear me doing the growl. And I'm like, yeah, he's doing the same thing. And he must have did it like 3 or 4 times because there's a doe that he was after. And you can hear the doe at the end just blowing. Shh, shh, shh. She sees me.
I think I remember that now.
Yeah.
When she takes off there, yeah.
She sees me. I can't see him, but I know he's off to the left. And it goes real steep right up there. And I'm in this, like, it's starting to mix into a little bit of hardwood, but I'm in this little boggy area, right? And I'm like, get out of here. When I heard that, I'm like, this is crazy. Never heard it in my life. I've heard bucks grunt, but I've never heard that growl. And that was like, it was crazy. It made my year. That was the coolest thing that happened all year. Because you never know when you're going to hear that again.
You don't get to hear it. You don't hear it very often.
No.
The buck grunting and stuff, it's rare, you know?
In the Northeast,
Right.
Rare to hear one grunt.
Yeah, I mean, put it on YouTube and, you know, you're listening to these Midwest, you know, videos and stuff.
They're
doing it all the time. It's like, and they're, you know, and it's like, oh my God, dude, where are these deer? Because they never do it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can forget that one.
I was super pumped, but I'm like, the conditions were horrible. You know, so all I could do was try to mimic what he was doing, you know, back and maybe try to irritate him, you know, and come in after me, and he just wouldn't bite.
Yep, so you never get to lay eyes on him?
No.
He's just right there.
No,
just
saw the doe.
Yep. Oh, man. I swear half the time in Vermont when you grunt, they're running away from you.
Right.
But it's just all conditions based and when the time's right.
Yeah.
I've heard
I don't know, maybe it's, you know, when they're in the softwood, you know, and I'm grunting, I don't know, they feel more safe, you know what I mean? So maybe they'll meander a little bit, investigate a little bit, where in the hardwood, they just kind of freeze up and just kind of listen, you know, and they don't see it. They're kind of just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But in that softwood, they can't see what they're hearing. So.
Yep. I've always had really good luck with it in the softwood.
Interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. It just
gets them curious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. They're tough to read sometimes, but I have really good luck with it in the softwood.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they trust in their eyes more in that hardwood environment where they can see 100, 200 yards.
Yep.
If they can't see it, then it's,
Yeah, I've heard some stories of that in Mass.
Really?
You know, some guys this year that went out to Mass, and they're jumping deer like 200 yards out.
Just wide open.
Super
I
spooky.
heard some of that too, yep.
Yeah, I went down there for the first time, and I couldn't believe how open it was. You know, I got into a spot where I finally found some softwood and a bog, and I'm just looking on Onyx, and I'm just like, find me a bog somewhere.
Yeah.
And I found one, thankfully, but before I was just like, man, this is like crazy. And then I was listening to like, I think it was Neil or maybe Jeff, and they're just, jumping deer from, they must have been spooked during their shotgun season. I don't know.
It's, you were talking about Vermont's like small block timber going down there. That really must have been that was a big shock for me too. I get down there and everything's so broken up and like different. The paint on the trees is different and like certain rules are different town to town.
Yeah. I always get nervous when I go into Mass, but
there's a lot to consider when like I followed a buck and on both days I was down there and both of them went on a posted land. It's just like from state to post. It's just different,
Yeah.
A lot of deer down there though. A lot of deer.
And that's the difference too. I'm not used to a lot of posted land at all.
Yeah. You get nothing out here.
You go down there and you get on posted land, you're going to get charged.
Yeah.
It's a done deal. I'm not saying you won't get charged if you go on posted land here, but there's so much more of it down there, as opposed to like northern New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't post our land up here, so, we got to be good stewards, and not ruin that. But down there, it's like, man,
it's different. It's just different.
It is different.
It's crazy how different each state is from like Massachusetts to Vermont to New Hampshire and Maine. Like every state's its own animal.
It is.
And how crazy the Northeast, how different it is in the Northeast compared to like out Midwest everywhere. Like if you're on private property, posted or not out there, you're done.
Yeah.
And they're very serious about the leases.
Oh yeah, don't go. Yeah, try that down in Texas.
Yeah,
see what happens.
Yeah,
not good.
Jeez. Yeah.
They think we're nuts.
Oh yeah.
They think what we do is just nuts.
Yeah.
You guys walk around all day?
Right.
How
no
long do you
deer.
walk?
All day.
Deer.
When do you go home for lunch? We don't. Have lunch with us,
You're telling me you don't have a heater in a box blind? What?
Right. I've had deer. Just see 2 or 3 deer a year, and that third one's the one I shot.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You just don't know.
Typically, like, you bust your ass all year. On a good year, you might only get one opportunity at a buck. That's it up here. It's a whole different style of hunting. All right, so jumping back in. So when we got here, we're looking at your trophy room.
Yeah.
And is that your best buck on the wall in there?
That's my best racked buck.
I think it's crazy. The mass, the width, everything.
I appreciate it. Yeah. That was a crazy deal. I was in, the area where I just love to be, swampy, boggy area, super quiet, and going through and just looking for a track. And it was all tracked up. And then I just see his track.
Yep.
I'm like, man, that is nice. So I don't shoot a lot of deer. I don't put out a lot of trail cameras. I don't rely on them. It's more so like just fun. And I'm using just old beater trail cams, because again, they're on public land. Somebody steals them, it's not a big deal. I'm not out big, maybe $30. Yeah. So, I put them on game trails. Well, that guy I ended up getting on trail cam in Velvet, and I'm like,
in Velvet, early season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you guys after. It was nuts. And he's just sitting there like this, and I'm like, great, I'll never shoot him now because I've never shot a deer on trail cam. So I let it go. We go to Maine, and we went to Maine a little too early that year, and there was no snow. And then I call back here, and my wife, she's like, "Oh, we just got a lot of snow." And I'm like, "Well, we're leaving here. We're coming back." So we get back here. I buy my muzzleloader license because I thought I was going to be gone for all muzzleloader season. Yep. So it's all tracked up, and again, threw down some subtle grunts, and I could smell them, and I knew I was close.
Yep.
So I'm looking around, and it is super, super thick in there. And then I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, I see tines through the hemlocks. And he's coming low, and he is danger close. He is like 7 yards.
Jeez.
And he had me, I'm right-handed, and he was coming on my right shoulder. So we had some issues. Yeah. And he's super close where I cocked that hammer back. He's going to hear me. So I waited. I mean, he was just taking one step at a time, at this point, because he's just looking for either the doe or that guy that's really irritating him now. Thankfully, the wind was my friend that day, or else I would have been burnt. So I had to do some yoga there and kind of really stretch out and get that muzzleloader to my right shoulder, cock the hammer, and at least put something in brown, and ended up working out, and I blasted him.
How far away was the shot?
That was probably about 5 yards.
5 yards. That's the closest you've ever killed a deer.
Yeah. It was insane.
Is he like looking? Is he staring right at you as you're doing this, or does he doesn't even know you're there at 5 yards?
Well, I'm like off to his right cheek.
Okay.
Yeah, we're basically now the way I turned, we were heading the same direction because he had circled on me when I was on that track. Right. So that's why they say when you're on that track, don't be looking down at it. Always. And thankfully I was. I'm just looking around going super slow because it was smoking hot. So I blasted him, and then he just went straight ahead for about 10 yards. I lost him, and then I saw him again, this hole in the softwood, and hit him hard, I know, in the right shoulder, and then just dumped him.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
It was crazy, man. It was intense.
Did you think for a second he's going to run you over when you pull the trigger on him? Or?
There was a a good chance of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never been that close.
It's crazy to see a deer that, I mean, that's nuts. And especially a buck of that caliber. When he's there that close, did you realize exactly how big he was at that point? Because, I mean, that rack is crazy.
So I had a feeling just because of his gnarliness, I was like, it's him. I can't believe it's actually him. A deer that I've seen on a trail camera. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Not my luck. So luck was on my side that day. And, it was... What a day. Yeah. Crazy. What a day. That was crazy.
Yeah. You had was your dad hunting with you that day too? Or you had a group of guys come help you drag him out or something, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I called up my buddy. I nicknamed him Skidder because he just, direct azimuth to where you are. Doesn't care what's in the way, And he'll drag a jet sled through anything. So.
That's a good friend to have.
Yeah, a couple other buddies, and because I'd shown these guys the picture of that deer before that was in velvet. When I said it's him, they're like, "Get out of here!" So they were beating feet. And my dad it was early, and my dad had just gotten in the woods, and it's happened to him twice now, where he just gets out of his truck, gets his stuff together, goes maybe 10 minutes in the woods, and he hears boom, and he's like, "You gotta be kidding me."
Gotta relocate.
So, yeah. So it was a great day. It was a super day. Had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but the victory beer that day tasted pretty damn
good. It did.
I bet.
Yeah, a little early. Yeah. It was a little early.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Hey,
Bud heavies?
That's right. It was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a bud heavy.
Those morning, you get those bucks you get in the morning. I love that. You get the whole day to get them out, and you get the whole day to celebrate. Yeah, you just slow motion after that and just enjoying it.
Yep. Yeah, you get to enjoy it. We must at my game pole there. We spend a lot of time there if we get them early. So
yeah.
Especially if it's nice and cold, we can let them hang for a bit and, just enjoy them.
Yeah. So that was snow. You had good snow early muzzleloader season. That was what, 2019 you said?
Yep, that was 2019.
You don't often get snow very much in that early muzzleloader season.
No, that was beautiful. We were in northern Maine and we didn't have snow.
Yeah.
And back here,
all the way back. That's rare.
But it's weird. Sometimes if you're in that little snow belt area, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How was it this year up here for snow? Was it?
It was terrible.
Did it come in that mid-season at all? We got it in Vermont. I think it was the 15th or 16th. We had some good snow come, but I know you're a little south of us from there.
It wasn't great.
Yep.
No.
Tough all year.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, you get that one in muzzleloader though. That makes up for it right there, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, we're lucky to get that done. So. But yeah, conditions. That was the biggest hurdle this year was conditions and conditions being the weather and lack of feed.
Yep, no doubt. And what did, before we move on, what did that buck weigh? The big one there, the one
that was, I want to say it was 194.
194.
Yeah, I want to say it was 194.
Yeah, you got a couple over 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many? Just two?
I got 3 over 200.
3? Wow. Hey.
Yeah.
And so that first one we walk in there, you said that one was 200, right?
That was 208. I don't know, 208, 205.
Big 8-pointer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the story on that buck?
That guy was, that was a bit ago. That's actually when I had a scope on my rifle. And I wish I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, because all I saw was brown just blow up in my scope. You know what I mean? It's just like I had to snap shoot with a scope. I caught him. I'm coming through, and I caught him pop up just in his bed, and I'm just sneaking and peeking through this little boggy area, and he was bedded down right underneath this little winter beach, and he just popped up out of nowhere. And as soon as he popped up, I shot 2. I hit him with my first one, and then he just kind of just disappeared. And then I'm like, man, I know I had all brown in my scope.
Yeah.
So I go up and I'm like, holy moly, you know what I mean? And like, I saw a horn, but I didn't see the body on him, you know? So
207. That's a great buck.
Yeah. He was a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long and thick all the way out through, or?
Yeah. He was just a toad. He was a big deer.
You said that the big racked one. You said he was short, stubby one. The one who's 197.
Yeah, we all thought he was going to be over 200.
I mean, even in your pictures, he looks, but just because he's so thick.
Yeah, but he was short.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
All that weight comes from the length of him, really.
Yeah, I agree. You know, more bone, more everything. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was awesome. That was a bare ground day.
Yeah. What year was that? You think? You said it was a ways back.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. That's probably maybe 2013-ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great buck.
Really good buck.
So I didn't track him per se, but on those wet leaves I saw some heavy prints.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
don't know if it was him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, to be
2
honest.
paths crossing.
Yeah.
Yep. And I just took it to where he might be going, or maybe he'd take me to another deer, and he just popped up out. I mean, I have no idea if it was his, but I just found fresh sign, and hey, there was no other game in town, so
yeah, take what you got.
Yep.
Yeah, 200-pounder at the end of that one right
there.
Yeah. And did you say your first tracking buck that's at the end of the hall there, was that a 200-pounder as well?
No.
He wasn't?
Nope.
He's got a wicked rack, though.
Yeah, that was like 180s.
Yeah, it's a great buck.
Yeah.
How did that play out, your first tracking buck? I mean,
so I was hunting with guys that sit in tree stands, all really good dudes. And I was supposed to go sit in the tree stand I was told to go sit in. Because I'm hunting with them,
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help it. We had great snow, and here comes a couple tracks. It was a buck track on a doe track coming across this big river. And I mean, it was smoking hot. And he's heading up, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. Why am I going to sit in a tree stand and let this get old? And kid you not, it was the quickest tracking job ever. It was probably, me driving up, I must have just missed him. Yeah. And it was maybe 25 minutes.
Wow.
So he's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah. And I remember threading the needle through these two. He saw me out of the corner of his eye way up. And, man, he just started to lope like once, and then he went another time, and he was between these two birch. And I just took a shot between that V and the birch. And hit him. So I shot twice. I always find that I probably hit him the first time.
Yep.
Yeah.
The second shot's kind of like hey, let's throw another one at him.
Yeah.
Let's anchor him if we can.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, if he's still moving, you're seeing him, throw lead.
Oh, absolutely. You have to up
throw
here.
lead.
Yeah.
Can't take that chance.
Yep.
What did the tree stand sitters think that day?
Oh, they were pickled. They were. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? And they came in, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. That was early. Yeah.
And that's what had you hooked right there tracking.
Yep.
First on. So that must
my dad got me hooked on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you actually doing it yourself and it working out, that was like, I'm hooked.
Yes.
Kind of solidified it for you that this
Yep.
is what I want to do.
Yep. Yeah, I knew from sitting in a tree stand every now and then with these guys, like, this is not my gig.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Again, it works for other people. I'm like, but at me, this is not my gig. So then hunting for years with my father and him showing me the way with the tracking and stuff, it was just so much more interesting. You had to have an attention to detail, you know? And that's key. Paying attention, being patient, being persistent, you know, and just keep getting after it and just never quit.
Yep.
Get off the couch, you know, and go after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So your dad he's killed some good bucks tracking then over the years.
Yep. Yeah, he's had some decent ones. Yep. You know, he hunted back in the day where, you know, way back, you know, where does were available, and back then you feed the family, you know, so he'd shoot some does and so forth, you know, bring them home, and I think we had deer meat and everything. Spaghetti.
Grew up on it.
Yeah.
From the beginning. Do you guys like ever double team a buck on a tracking day at all through the years?
I would have to say more so when I was a young
Him
guy.
showing you the ropes
Yep.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I learned the most.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When he was quiet, you know, it's kind of like that puppy following his dad. You know what I mean? When he's whatever he's doing, you're doing. You know, so
Yep.
that's what I did, and that's really how I learned. I owe a lot to him. I owe him so much just for getting me involved in the woods. You know, I couldn't imagine where I'd be if I didn't have that right now.
It's important. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing the same thing with your sons. You know,
Yep.
I see you do some youth hunting and stuff, and
Yep.
all that. And that's important stuff. You said they're hooked right into it too, right?
Oh yeah, they're hooked. Yeah. I mean, Owen's in the service. He's down south. I mean, he loves waterfowl. He likes to deer hunt too, but down there, I mean, he's waterfowling right now, or he just got done, I think. But their deer season went till like January 31st.
It was
or
real
something.
late. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then Alden, I'm getting into it, you know, and they both have everybody has their different personality and style, you know, and Owen's really that aggressive go-getter, you know, and Alden's more patient, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes, you know, one is aggressive, one's very patient, and one needs to do the other, you know what I mean? The guy that's aggressive, like, Owen maybe be a little patient, and Alden, he needs to be aggressive more at certain points, you know? So, I mean, you just got to understand when you're teaching your kids, they're different. So, you know, use their strengths, you know, and don't forget their weaknesses, and strengthen their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to look at it.
So-
Yeah. There's a lot of guys, like we've talked about on other podcasts, a lot of guys that listen to this have kids that are getting into it. And
Yeah.
It's just the most important thing they can do is take them places they can be successful and, you know,
Yep.
and show them the ropes through it
Absolutely.
all. But, we'll do one more buck story and then we'll start wrapping it up. But you had that big 10-pointer, right, in the trophy room. What was the
Yep.
story on that one? He's on the left side
So
there.
he, I went in, that was bare ground, wet leaves, and I'm just milling around, and what was it? Doe came out, and I'm caught right in this, like, just trail, and I'm like, oh man, I'm done, right? She's there. She hasn't blown yet, though.
Staring right at you.
Right, but staring right down at me with the tail up, and I'm in the middle of this trail, and I'm just sitting there, and I just tuck my head down a little bit, don't put like direct eyes on her, and I'm just like, please, just look back once, give me a hint, and sure enough, she lowered her tail, and then she looks back, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go,
Game time.
So then, and we're talking, this is opening day. So I'm like, yo, here he comes, and it's a huge, like, the spikes on this deer. There was a spike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, not opening day.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm like, oh man, look at the spikes on that guy. That's impressive. So I let him go, but he goes off in kind of a hurry, like he's jumped. And I just see that guy right there at 10-pointer just nose down to the ground, just like he's moving him along. I'm like, yeah, that's good. So I started laying lead to him, and it was crazy. He came through. It was like this tunnel. I hit him. She went by. The spike went by again. And then he goes by. I put another one, and it was like a, I don't know, like that game of the carnival where the ducks keep going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Then they went through the trail again, and I just dump him. I just start dumping rounds into him, and I come up to him, and I'm just like, man, that is a buck.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
Yeah,
dark horns too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's really cool on the right. It's like
it's got one of those
blowflies, are they?
Yeah. Or bot flies.
And both sides. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's cool.
And then he kind of snapped off the main beam there a little bit, but
that was from a while ago, right?
It was like 2016 or 17.
Okay. So not too long.
Yeah.
Huh. So that's a hot dough then. She had the spike horn on her ass, and then he's right there too.
Yeah. What was cool that day is it was Veterans Day, and Owen shot his first buck that day, a little spike.
Really?
So
Wow.
Different spike.
Yeah.
But, it was cool. So I kind of forget about him because my son shot his first buck.
Yeah.
And that was so much cooler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But that was a good day.
That's a heck of a day. You had some bucks hanging on the pole out there then that day.
Yeah. That was fun. That was fun. Yeah.
So, that's awesome.
He was a 200 pounder. So.
What do you weigh? Was it two?
Don't quote me on it. It was low twos.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like 220-ish or anything like
200
that.
pounder though.
He was long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really long.
Jeez. Bare ground that day too, you said?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you've killed some great ones on bare ground.
Yeah.
It's you've got it down as far as creeping, it seems like, and figuring that out. And that's bare ground hunting's it's a game in of itself. You know, it's tough. It's a mental game more than anything, which, you know, you've got that down for sure.
Yeah, it's a necessity if we know the weather.
That's the way it's been, yeah.
Especially those great snow days all the time, you know?
Yeah. Don't work out that way. Huh. Well, we'll start wrapping it up, but so for somebody that wants to get into, you know, white mountain hunting and New Hampshire hunting, what's a piece of advice or two you got for them? Like, what would you say?
Well,
most important thing you can come up with.
I would say that you gotta be patient. You gotta be persistent, and you just can't quit. You know, that's kind of our motto, is never quit, and it runs true up here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is a humbling spot, and you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. And but it's very humbling. Mm-hmm. You know, they will take you for a hike for sure.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and you gotta be prepared. You get them way out, you're gonna be dragging them way out. Mm-hmm. But we don't worry about that till it's done.
That's when we call your buddy Skidder, right?
That's right. That's what we call
Skidder. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. Huh.
So you gotta just get after it.
Yep.
You gotta love. First of all, you gotta love what you're doing, and you just gotta get after it. And attention to detail is huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Picking up the small cues and.
Yep. Yeah, and shoot. You got to shoot a lot. I know it's expensive to shoot, but
nowadays,
you got to shoot.
Yep. Yeah. That's. I mean, we were talking about on the way up. Hardly ever you shooting more than 60 yards at a buck. It seems like.
Yep.
I mean, every once in a while you're gonna have the long ball every once in a while, but you got to shoot. You got to pick holes, and you got to know how to hit them on the run.
Yep.
Do some shooting. I know it's a lot of money right now. You know, I don't know. Use 22s, but it's the same maybe action as your hunting rifle.
Yep.
And just shoot 22s. You know, do some skeet shooting. Do anything that's gonna put some trigger time in. Mm-hmm. You know,
some memory.
We do a lot of shooting.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you get the military background too. That help. You've done some shooting
there
too.
It helps.
Yeah.
You know, especially the red dot
and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, but we do a lot of shooting. When did you make
the switch to the red dot from a peep?
Just a couple of years ago.
Yep. And that was because you felt that was more efficient, a better.
I actually got my dad and Alden onto it, and then I was just kind of stuck in the nostalgia of having a peep sight and having a really sleek looking rifle, and it was good. You know, nothing against the peep sight, but then I really missed an opportunity in an area, and I really feel that if I had that red dot, I would have got him, and that was a beast. Mm-hmm. So then my dad got after me, and he's like, "You got to do it, And then I went to the dark side, we call it, and I got that red dot.
The dark side. I mean, it's worked out for you though.
So it is.
I'm thinking about switching over to the dark side.
Yeah, it's worth trying. You know, you don't have to spend a bunch of money to get one. Yeah. You can get them for under $7. That Bushnell that I use, and I'm not I am not affiliated with Bushnell. Right? They are getting so many free plugs from me this past year. So they ought to, though. Just so you know, Bushnell.
Yeah, hit them up.
Right? So it's, you can get one for under $100.
Yep.
So it's worth it. You don't like it, and I'll throw it on your turkey
pull it
gun or
off and
something.
put your peat back on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the way down about trying one out this year and just seeing what it's like. I see a lot of guys are switching to BARs, and some have red dots on them, and it seems like you get the red dot on the pump and stuff. It seems like they're coming back. I mean, there's been red dots on turkey guns and stuff, but it seems like they're coming to the big woods hunting guns type of thing.
Yep. We're successful with them. There's no perfect optic.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They all have their pros and cons, but this one for us works the best.
Yep.
Everyone's got their own style.
Yep. There's days I wish I had a scope. There's days I wish I had that peep.
Mm-hmm.
But for all those days, for all different types of weather, without switching guns and switching everything, this works the best. This is like the
it's kind of like that middle
happy
ground,
medium.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Happy medium. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Works for
the
you.
New age into the old. Trusted rifles.
Yeah. Try it out.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. You got anything else you want to add, Ryan?
Yeah. We were talking about scouting earlier. Is shed hunting anything that you are into? I know it's blown up a lot the last 5 years or so.
I don't do a lot of shed hunting.
Yeah.
You got your hands full with a lot of everything. Family and work and everything.
Yeah, I do shift work. Then I'm like coaching. And I'm gonna start getting back into archery. It looks fun as heck, man.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine. It's like finding a little piece of gold out there.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you got a nice freshie. I just don't have the time for it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's fun as heck.
Yeah. Maybe one day, right?
Yeah.
Retirement days. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
For those that want to find you, want to follow you, that already don't, so where can they get you? YouTube, Instagram?
So we got YouTube, White Mountain Buck Trackers on our YouTube. We just put out a video collaboration with Tracking 200 on Jeff Doyle's. Mm-hmm. Should be pretty good. Yeah, Jeff does some great stuff.
Big time.
Yeah, I love it. So check out our YouTube. We have Facebook, White Mountain Buck Trackers. And then we have White Mountain Buck Trackers on
Instagram.
We're always posting stuff out there, but
yeah, you guys are always putting good content out.
Yeah, we do blog on our actual webpage, whitemountainbucktrackers.com. You can go, you can get apparel when we have it. It's just me, guys. So I designed the t-shirts and so forth, and I'm doing the videos and I'm doing blogs, but it's all there. You can get some gear. I know we still have a couple of t-shirts and so forth and some decals. We'll be coming out with our flannels again and some hats and maybe a new patched hat, but that's usually around the summer to late summer. But that stuff will be there, and we appreciate everybody's support. So
yeah, you got some cool designs and stuff. And
I
was looking forward to your drops. You kind of doing them like drops and stuff.
Yeah, it's just fun to do.
Yeah,
I have more fun with it than anything. So
cool. Well, I guess we can wrap it up. That was good. I know there's a lot of guys that are gonna be happy we had you on, so I appreciate you coming on. It's happy to be here and talking deer hunting. We could go all day, but
I'm glad you guys came over. I appreciate you taking the trip, and thank everybody for the support and want me on the podcast, and maybe we'll talk again.
Absolutely, definitely.
Cool.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.